Yo, welcome into the CHGO White Sox post-game show, a remote version here in we're now past 12:30. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. I'm your host of the CHGO White Sox post-game show. Alongside me, the full CHGO White Sox crew. We got Vinnie Duber, the CHGO White Sox beat writer. You can follow him on Twitter at Vinnie Duber. And you can read his latest piece at ALLCITY talking about Lance Lynn. And alongside us is Herb Lawrence, the man usually in the middle. Sorry, I cut off your hello.
All good.
You want to do it
Still
again?
works.
No, do it again. It's your signature. Hello. Okay. I feel like I'm still talking over that. You can follow him on Twitter at Ecknerwall23 as our CHGO White Sox community leader. We still got people hanging out with us. So shout out to everybody with us. 32 people live at 12:34 a.m. 1234 a.m. So make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button. And we got a lot to talk about today. Jake Burger hitting 2 home runs. Luis Robert adding 1. Sox win 8-4 in LA. And Mike Clevinger having his best start as a White Sox pitcher, and then it all derailing with one throw. Let's start with the positive, though. Jake Burger. Herb, they said it couldn't be done. He's hit homers on the road. And not only has he hit homers, he's hit his last 3 homers on the road.
It is an odd thing. The guy who usually barrels up balls can do it on the road. I mean, it was just an anomaly that he didn't do it all year long on the road. But, he saw Hall of Famer Clayton Kershaw today with his 91, 92 mile per hour fastball. And he deposited on the first pitch he sees for that Hall of Fame, the first pitch he ever sees at Dodger Stadium. And then later in the game, when the White Sox are down and need a big time lift, Jake Burger's there for that home run off the fair pole. So, yeah, it's an oddity that this guy didn't start the year with the team, but now you'd be, hard-pressed to not know where this team would be without his services this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just the stats, it's the clutch moments, right? I mean, obviously that walk-off grand slam a couple of weekends ago, but I mean, tonight he turned that game around. I mean, it looked like this team was falling apart, both figuratively and literally. They making the mistakes in the field in the 6th inning to blow that meager lead that they had. But I mean, Clevinger goes down. You see, Benintendi get hit in the hand later in the game. You see the comments on Yohan Moncada before the game that we'll get to, I'm sure. And then just what was going on in the field. What is Tim Anderson doing there on that play at second base? It looked like it was going to just be a disaster of a finish, and Jake Burger comes to the rescue, rides in on the white horse, right? And then the bats, the rest of the lineup kind of followed suit after that, adding another 4 runs after he ties the game up. So clutch moments from Jake Burger, showing that he can be not just a guy who has some talent, but a guy who is a very, very, very important piece of this lineup right now.
Yeah, I kept saying, like, it's just still a round white baseball. I don't understand why, same thing last year when the White Sox were losing so much on the road and couldn't, win when they were leaving guaranteed rate field. It's just a weird anomaly. I mean, he's a good hitter, and, his approach stays the same. He told you first, they kept bringing this up on the ESPN broadcast, that he's trying to homer each and every time he goes up there, each and every swing. He told Vinny first. But still, I mean, like, that's always been his approach, no matter whether it's at home or whether it's at home or on the road. Jake Burger's starting to see those results away from guaranteed rate field. And I'm not sure if it's because of the eye pitch. I mean, we did see that storyline, and he did struggle immediately in that first series where they had the eye pitch in Cleveland with them. But since then, I think he's got 3 homers on the road. So again, he hits the ball hard. His barrels are hit just as hard, away from guaranteed rate field as they are here. Let's get to the Moncada stuff, though, because you mentioned it, Vinny. Daryl Vince Gallen out there, I think him and Merck are the 2 that are covering the team out in LA right now. Pedro Grifol did not rule out an IL stint for Yohan Moncada, who's been playing through back problems. Quote, it's been an ongoing thing. We'll see how we move forward on that and take care of that, end quote, Grifol said. Jake Burger obviously playing third tonight and did a fine job. Nothing really sticks out defensively from him, negative or positive. He had 1 nice play. But, I mean, I kept saying, Vinny, hey, Yohan Moncada doesn't look that good. Yohan Moncada doesn't look that good. And now we're hearing IL. Is this super surprising just with what we've seen so far from Moncada, especially with some of the times he's running down first baseline?
I mean, I guess it's not surprising from what your eyes would tell you, right? Because this is a guy who's had some obvious effects from that back injury that dates all the way back to spring training at this point. Some obvious effects from that. I guess the only reason I would call it surprising is they and he have deemed him well enough to play for a long time now, since he came back from that IL stint at the beginning of the season. For every grimace or hobble that he might have on the field, we've seen him go out there and play third base again. You know, we've seen him go out there and swing the bat. You know, he's obviously not looking like the guy that we've seen in years past, even, you know, as recently as 2021. But you know, he's gone out there and kind of fought through it, and it's really been a hallmark of his career is that he's fought through these injuries. It must now be that they're getting to the point where he's not going to be able to do that anymore if they're talking about a potential trip to the injured list again for what would I would imagine be the exact same back injury that sent him there the first time.
Yeah, very disappointing. And I mean, he tried to fight through it, and I don't know if it's going to end up in the IL stint, but it's clear that he is dealing with something that he is not generating power from. He's really not hitting the ball with authority at all right now. And so IL stint, if that can get him back to being where he was in 2021, I would be all for it. But, you know, we've already talked about this, you know, him trying to play through injuries and be tough. And I commend him for it. But if you're on the field, you have to play. You have to play to the numbers that you're expected to play. So no excuses when you're on the field and hurt, because that is what you have chosen to do. And so if he chooses and they choose to put him on the IL to get him better, when he does come back, I expect the player that we all expect at the beginning of the year, because what the White Sox are doing with him, Tim, now Andrew Benintendi got hit in the hand again. So I don't like how they deal with injuries and how they have these guys play through injuries. But if they want to put him on the IL, I'm all for it, because he's not really doing a lot with the bat. And we already have a third baseman that's doing well enough. As you said today, nothing stood out of bad or good from Jake Burger except for the offensive stats.
To your point, Herb, on Moncada, you know, he's said in the past, and he would be right to say it again this year, he feels the need to play through it, that because the team is always so banged up. You say that you don't like the way they deal with injuries. Well, you want the whole team on the IL at the same time. I mean, at some point, you got to feel the roster, and you know, no team has a bunch of guys who are sitting around at 100%. The White Sox obviously have had more than their fair share of injuries over the last few years. But you know, I'm sure Moncada has been thinking the same thing he thought when he told us that back in 2021. So you know, it's a mindset thing, and I think, you know, for all the crap he gets about you know, taking a little time you know, after sliding into second base or something like that to get right, this is a guy who has answered the bell every time he could, even when he has been far from 100%.
Yeah, but I mean, at this point, he's kind of he's hurting the team. I mean, Jake Burger is a better player. I mean, his defense isn't that bad. And at this point, he's at where Jose Abreu was August 3rd with home runs. I mean, he's got 14 home runs. He's past Jose Abreu. He's now at 15 because he hit 2 tonight. So now you have Robert and Berger at 16 and 15. This team was dying for power last year. Andrew Vaughn led the team with 17, and here we are with 2 guys at 16 and 15, and we aren't even past you know, the Ides of June. So I'm extremely kind of for Yoan Moncada getting that health bar all the way up to 100%, because if he's not at 100%, we've seen what he is. And you can see those StatCast ladders. I know it's a very brief overview of what a player is, and it's not truly defining on whether a player is good or not. But you just see those percentiles dipping down and down and down. He doesn't seem like the full healthy player that he was in 2019. It seemed like, you know, if we are going to use a video game analogy here, it just seems like he's taken a lot of critical hits and he's never just really been able to rebound. You know, maybe he'll get up to 50% and, you know, he uses all of his power in, you know, the first series against Houston. And here we are dealing with this. You know, I mean, we've talked about the World Baseball Classic with Lance Lynn. Yoan Moncada, I mean, we saw him immediately hit the IL right after the World Baseball Classic ended, after he had a fantastic World Baseball Classic. And, you know, the results just haven't really been there. And we even saw him do well once he hit Charlotte and had a rehab assignment. Didn't translate to Major League Baseball after he returned. So hopefully he can get healthy, because right now, I'm for Moncada hitting the IL. We have 102 people watching us right now.
Wow.
We're excited after a victory. It was a resilient victory where most of us, especially after that Tim Anderson, Elvis Andres play, and then Pedro Gaffrol getting kicked out, I thought, man, this game is over. This team is lifeless. They don't know where the right ball to put the ball in the right spot, and it's over. Their offense has never really done anything as of late. And then you get Jake Berger and all the rest of the boys following him up and really putting it to the Dodgers late in that game. So I thought it was over. And so these people are excited. I mean, how many wins have we had as of late? Like, since what? The homestand? This is we broke a 4-game streak?
Whoa. Hello. Did we lose everybody? Hello. Hi. There was a blackout at Dodger Stadium for about 10 seconds, and I think we just experienced one. Herb, you were going on with a lovely thought there. Why don't you pick it up wherever you thought you left off?
No, I don't know where it went. But
amazing.
I was just saying that people are
Jake
excited
Berger,
about
Luis Robert doing well. The offense being bad.
Yeah, these people are excited about the victory. That was a great victory. I don't know. Our producer Kevin Wells asked us, "Is this the best victory of the year?" I don't know about the best, but it is a very resilient victory for the White Sox coming back from all the adversity they had in this game.
Well, what does Tom Brady always say? The best ring's the most recent, right? The next ring is the best win. So, I mean, it probably just feels that important because the White Sox were 1-4 in their last 5. It feels so important. It's the Dodgers. The White Sox were bound to win one, and the Dodgers bullpen completely blew up tonight. I mean, that's the main thing that I take away. Like, the White Sox had those big 3 shots, 2 from Berger and 1 from Robert. But like you said, Herbert, that was the offense today. Like, I mean, there wasn't really consistency, and the Dodgers really weren't putting up anything against Mike Clevinger. And then JD Martinez fouls a ball out to right field, and it seems pretty innocent. And then they cut to Mike Clevinger, and he's holding his collarbone. We hear from the White Sox he leaves with right bicep soreness. I don't know if I'm buying that, Herb. I don't know if you can talk because you might have some some ambulances were going by your house.
You're not buying it? Dr. Anderson has a different diagnosis. Is that what I'm led to believe?
Dr. Delusional is checked in. He has put on his scrubs, washed his hands, and he's not buying right bicep soreness, Vinny.
It was not good at all. Like, I don't know what it is, and I'll take the White Sox word for it. Hopefully it's a right bicep soreness for Mike Clevinger and the White Sox, because if it's anything serious, we're discussing in the chat, they don't really have a lot. We already know that. Jesse Schultens. We have Tanner Banks, who does like minor league relieving, but he started last year. Sean Burke is sucking down there at AAA, but it is a bandbox. They don't have a lot of depth. However we feel about Mike Clevinger, he was dealing today, and how he was dealing today would look good for the White Sox moving forward. So if it's for the White Sox, a serious injury, they're in trouble, big time trouble.
It looked bad, and whether you want to make your own diagnosis, Sean, I would advise against that. That seems irresponsible, but it did look bad. We'll say that. And I think Alden Gonzalez said on the ESPN broadcast, we all saw it. It looked bad. So that was an accurate description. When a guy can't really lift his arm, that's troubling. So, I'm not ready to, I'll wait for the White Sox to update this before we put a timeline on it. But Herb, you're right. Your mind instantly goes to, okay, who makes that next turn in the rotation for this team? And you say they don't have much depth. I would argue that they have basically no depth down there in the minor leagues that they can call on and be confident in. We'll put it that way. I'll go back to the fact that Davis Martin surprised last year, and so they could call on somebody who could surprise again, but you can't rely on that. And again, I don't think it's anyone's real fault. You know what I mean? They locked in 5 starting pitchers. Who's going to come and sign up to be a minor league arm for this team? They went out and got who they thought they could get. They hoped they could find a diamond in the rough, and Jesse Schulten seems to be their best chance at that, but I don't know how much confidence he's bringing with him if he's going to be the guy who gets inserted into the rotation in any event, whether it's this with Mike Clevinger or somewhere down the line this year.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit later on after the break, because there is, the big question of who fills in that role if it is extremely serious. Because again, Dr. Anderson, although we were waiting on X-rays, it did not look good to the naked eye, the naked trained doctor's eye. But what did look good is Luis Robert swing. He had a double today and a home run, and he's been fantastic since the benching, quote unquote, since May 2nd, since Luis Robert was benched. Or quote unquote, again, benched in the second game of that Rays series at home and did not play on the 30th. Luis Robert has 142 at-bats, an OPS of 992, pretty chill, 10 walks, 45 Ks, but the most important numbers, 11 home runs, 13 doubles, 22 RBIs. This is a franchise changer and very exciting things when Luis Robert can just kind of, give your team a lead for 5 innings. You really don't have to worry. Herb, I mean, this is a game changer and really the reason why you keep going back to this team can't sell in this division.
Not at all. They have too many good players that are playing poorly. We've only got these two guys that we've mentioned already, Jake Burger and Luis Robert, playing above expectations. All the rest of them, every single one of the rest of the hitters are probably at or below average of where they're supposed to be. And so, yeah, they just need one of these guys. You saw late in the game with Eloy Jimenez with that double there, getting a hit. We need more of that. We need more consistency of him playing. He spent the last 4 days out for being hurt, but it's good that he's starting to hit. If they can get this contagion going, you saw Clint Frazier even contributing late to a game. Yasmani Grandal, my pick to click before the game started because of his familiarity with Clayton Kershaw, catching him before. I thought he was going to have a good game. He had a pretty solid game, a 3-for-5 game. So if they keep continuing this hitting streak, this contagious hitting, I think this can carry them for a little while the pitching's been carrying them since the month of May. As you said, Luis Robert should be this good all the time, but we get these drips and drabs. 16 home runs, awesome, excellent. But I need him to be a little bit better than he is right now. His defense has been great, but his offense, we were watching the other day when he would just spit on a couple sliders and a couple balls in the dirt that he would swing at. That's the consistency I need of the plate discipline, of knowing when to swing and how to swing. And today he just dropped that barrel down and crushed Clayton Kershaw for that home run. And that double late in the game was nice too.
Vinny?
I mean, Herb said it all. I mean, Luis Robert is playing fantastically right now. I don't know how much more there is to add right now. I think, when it comes to Herb evaluating the offense, yeah, this is a good night. I think the thing is they need to make this a more regular occurrence. I mean, we were talking last night about a team who had scored, only more than 3 runs, I think, in 3 of their 10 games in June, something like that. So this is now 4-11, so that's a positive, but they need to make this a habit. Obviously in comeback fashion, you can't expect that every single night. 8 runs is a lot. You shouldn't expect that every single night, but this lineup was built to hit like this, built to hit around Luis Robert Jr. like this. And, he's a guy who's not only going to be able to drive in runs, but he's going to be able to set the table for the guys behind him, for the Eloys and Burgers and Vaughns of the world. They need to drive him in. It's a problem that has really bedeviled this team all year. Consistent offense, they haven't had it to speak of. And if they can get some consistent offense, you're talking about a division that is well within grasp. They probably should, from what we've seen from these 5 teams through 2.5 months of baseball, if they can hit with consistency, they should be the team to emerge from this swamp of a division.
Well, Herb, real quick. I mean, I think it's 12:52, so I might be mishearing you. But do you want more? You want more consistency from Luis Robert?
Yes, like he's been good, but like
Herb will settle for nothing less than the best player in baseball.
Herb, yes. Well, I mean, for the past 38 games, he's got an OPS near 1,000.
Okay,
his slugging percentage in the past 38 games is over 600.
But in this same stretch, have you seen games where he's gone 0 for 4 and looked absolutely horrible at the plate? No, not like you just strike out. No, I'm swinging at balls that are way in the dirt. Not disciplined at the plate. Not looking like he is knowing what the pitchers are trying to do to him in year 4. He's still making rookie type mistakes at the plate. Yes, the numbers look good, but he needs to keep this up consistently.
I think 38 games is consistent enough to show at least improvement. In the
It's a
first,
short sample size.
in April, 33 strikeouts to 4 walks, and then again in the past 38 games, 45 Ks to 10 walks. I mean, that's just better,
It's
right
just better
there.
than the bad guy he was. He needs to be. I don't know what you guys don't get. He's not a regular player. I don't compare him to regular White Sox. He's a top of the league player. That's what he is, and that's what I expect him to be. Not just good, great.
Aye, Captain. Hey, okay.
Great.
He's got an OPS near. He's got an OPS near 1,000 over the past 38 games. I think that's pretty great.
Herb, I think
season.
I think it's reasonable to expect him to be among the best players in baseball. That's the guy that the White Sox have said that they expect to see, right? They're the ones who have been talking about the six-tool player, about the guy that can do it all. His teammates comparing him to Mike Trout and whatnot. That's fine if you want to have those expectations. That being said, 1,000 OPS over a little bit, that's pretty good. And I would point to this. I would point to the biggest thing that we noticed watching Luis Robert before he was Luis Robert Jr. last year. And then in April this year, after he became Luis Robert Jr., was that plate discipline. It was horrible. It was, he was swinging at everything. And he was probably, to a major league pitcher, kind of an easy out, because you could just throw it off the plate and he would swing and miss it. Since we've heard that he's been focusing on that work, he has looked like a different hitter. He has looked like a different baseball player. And it goes to show you that he always had those tools in there. So your frustration when he wasn't showing them is proven to be correct, because look what he could do all along. He just needed to focus on it a little bit more. But man, he has been very good lately. If you're expecting perfection in this game, you're going to be disappointed a lot of the time. But he is he is a very good player, and he's been hyped up. So I get why you think that.
Hey, again, 122 games for Vaughn to reach 17 home runs last year. Right now, through 66 games, Robert's at 16. I mean,
again, you're comparing him
he's
to
healthy.
a bad team and a bad play.
He's healthy.
Average player last year.
I'm comparing him to Luis Robert is finally healthy. I mean, I think he's about to surpass the most games he's ever played in a season. No, he's not. I'm sorry. He's about to surpass the amount of games he played in 2021. Though.
Yes. But I'm saying, when you bring up Vaughn last year, that was a bad team and a mediocre player. He's not that. And you bringing that up and comparing him to that tells me exactly where he's at. He should be better than that. That shouldn't be a thing.
In half the games, he's tied his home run amount. What? I think it's pretty good. What bar are you
comparing it to a bad home run amount?
Okay.
Yeah, there were a lot of players on this very same White Sox team who should have had this many home runs at this point last year.
Yes.
And didn't.
All right. Luis Robert should have been one of them. He's finally doing it. I don't know. I mean, we didn't have people doing it last year. Someone has. We do have this super chat from Daniel. We'll take a break and then let we'll then my answer Daniel's question. We do want to let you know, though, about one of our new sponsors. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. Obviously, this is new to Illinois still in the grand scheme of things. Illinois has been around since 1800, folks. 2021, cannabis became legal in this state, and Sunnyside will allow you to have a welcoming, knowledgeable, positive, and confident experience. We'll make sure that you will be buying the right things for possibly your first experience, because they're a one-stop shop for all your cannabis needs, no matter where you are on your cannabis journey. Again, if that is whether you're starting off or you're like Herb, taking crazy pills, bashing Luis Robert.
Not bashing, expecting more.
All right, sir. But hey, you will expect a ton and expect more from Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, and they will always live up. And through August, head to sunnyside.shop and use code CHGO25 at checkout for 25% off your total order. One use per customer, and that's not only for new customers. Anyone can use our code. Pick up everything you need to elevate your summer. Must be 21 plus or an Illinois Med card holder. Herb, I know, again, this is a new sponsor here, but I know you you partake, and I know
do.
you're a fan of Sunnyside.
I do. It's right down the street from me in Wrigleyville, right across from Wrigley Field, and that one's nice. It's the former John Barleycorn, if you ever partied there and back in your youth, but nice and bright. Everything and the people, I don't know if they call them bud tenders. They really tell
They
you
do.
exactly what you need to be getting into. If you ask them, if you're a novice, they'll get you right.
I think bud tender is what you legally put on your LinkedIn page if you are a bud tender over at Sunnyside. If you are, you probably got a degree. If you are on LinkedIn, it's possible that you're trying to get a job or maybe elevate your career, and you can elevate your career over at Lewis University. Many of our students are adults like you, and many have full-time jobs or are or families, and all of them chose Lewis' supportive educational community to help make their transition back to school as easy as possible and earn a respected degree. It's 35 miles southwest of Chicago in Romeoville, and it's ranked as one of U.S. News and World Report's top-tier colleges. And Lewis partners with numerous employers for tuition discounts and offers evening, online, and blended formats to help you balance your work, family, and education. And hey, maybe you're not even, an adult in your family life at this point. Maybe you're somebody who's gone to a different full-time college and it's not right for you, like my cousin Maggie, who Ball State wasn't right for her, and she was looking to complete her bachelor's degree, and Lewis had the right program for her. She enrolled in their nursing program, and she did a fantastic job. Got a job right out of Lewis University at the hospital she wanted to, and now she's living all out on her own in Elmhurst, and we're so proud of her. You can discover how a degree from Lewis can help you build a better world, just like my cousin Maggie. You can learn more at lewisu.edu/you can do this. Shout out to Lewis and shout out to Sunnyside. All right, let's get back into the Clevinger discussion here. And again, thanks everybody for hanging out with us. 94 people watching us again. Why? It's 1 a.m. Oh, wait, before we get into the Clevinger thing, let's get into our super chat here. Thank you to Daniel Stack. We don't have our super chat sounds today, but Daniel says, what do you think of Bob Nightingale saying that Pedro Grifol has done nothing as manager, nothing different anyhow? Not sure. I disagree. We talked a little bit about this briefly, but to respect Daniel's super chat, Herb, did this pass the smell test?
Not at all. I don't know where he got his information from. We know that in the past, it's been rumored that he has a source in the White Sox system, or either Reinsdorf or Kenny Williams. And, some of the stuff comes from them. I think this is just a blind thing where he's just going off and rogue on Pedro Grifol for some reason. It's ridiculous. Pedro doesn't deserve any of this blowback. As we talk about all the time, managers they matter very little in game decisions. I think where his game matters is the conversations he has off the field, the relationships he has with these players and such. And I don't see anything from being, outside looking in that anything that Pedro's done that this team, that Pedro's made this team the way it is right now. From what Vinny has reported, I don't see anything that Pedro's doing something nefarious or anything bad to these players. I think it's mostly the players not performing and them being hurt all the time. So I don't know why Bob is, taking time off his USA Today national article and blaming a rookie manager in his third month of his career.
Yeah, I mean, I think what it kind of strikes me as is I don't want to say a joke because it went on a little long to be a joke, but it was a I think playful reference to the fact that Tony La Russa received the blame that he did last year for things going so poorly for the White Sox, and I think we've seen so many commenters and so many Twitter responses throughout the season from folks watching this team post a significantly worse record than it did last year, going, oh, maybe it wasn't Tony's fault. Oh, maybe fire Tony wasn't the correct thing to be chanting. Obviously, this is a much more nuanced discussion than you can get into in a few minutes, but I think it goes to show that the White Sox went out, hired a guy to be the manager to fix all these problems. The problems weren't fixed. I don't think that the expectation should have been that he was going to fix all the problems by himself. After all, this was the same collection of players that this team and this front office put together, and their lack of production is the reason why the White Sox are where they are. So I would not rush to blame Pedro for anything that has gone wrong with the White Sox so far this year. But I get the idea, the reference, the dare I say joke that perhaps last year was not all Tony La Russa's fault.
Yeah, the quote was all spring. They were saying, "Look at what the new manager is doing. Pedro Grifol, he's done nothing." I was joking. They should give Tony La Russa another plaque in Cooperstown for actually winning with this team. Hey, baseball's weird. I think that's what we could chalk it up to. And as we shown earlier, again, Pedro Grifol has been very influential, I guess, in Luis Robert, and maybe chalk it up to healthier. But I know Herb isn't happy with the 992 OPS. But
Didn't say
again,
that.
over 38 games, I'm just giving you shit. Over 38 games, I think we've seen just Pedro's way to turn what was originally, I think, a very negative situation and taught it into a teaching moment for Luis Robert. Hey, this is what I'm trying to do in communication. And that player's confidence was not destroyed. And he's been cruising ever since that moment. It was a blip on the radar. And look at what he's done over the past 38 games. Do you want to bench this guy? 992 OPS, Herb?
I do not.
Okay. All right. I don't know. I think that it's just BS. And we've seen a lot of scoops from Bob Nightingale within this Tony La Russa saga, this new chapter of Tony La Russa, dating back to when, hey, the White Sox are looking at Tony La Russa as their next manager. And everyone's like, what? No, they're not. What happened like 10 days later? Oh, they hired him. I don't know. He's got a track inside Tony La Russa. Maybe he's got his phone number or something. So I don't know. I think it's him probably standing up for his buddy. But that's just me. Let's move into Mike Clevinger here. A couple of things that I want to start with. He threw 73 pitches in this game before leaving. And what Jess Mendoza was doing on the broadcast that I thought was very interesting, was just talking about how he was really focusing on locating glove side and mainly to righties away from them. And this is on balls in play that were outs, called strikes, foul balls, foul tips, and swinging strikes. And you could just see the red that really starts from the middle of the plate and away. And that really helped his slider and fastball, which have been up and down this entire season, be effective. You could see here, again, he threw his fastball 35 times, slider 21 times, his cutter 12 times, and Lucas Giolito in the dugout referred to it as a slider and sweeper. So maybe that cutter is more of an actual slider, especially with it being around 83 miles per hour. And then that slider more of the sweeper that moves across more horizontally. But as you can see, the whiffs were up on both the slider and the cutter today. 4 whiffs on the slider, 3 whiffs on the cutter, and was able to get 4 called strikes on the slider. So one of his most effective days as a White Sox pitcher. But the biggest news is him leaving with right bicep soreness. I don't know if we really need to talk much about the performance because again, Dr. Anderson, although we are waiting for the x-rays, didn't look too good. Jesse Schultens is going to get the first crack at this, but I mean, do we think the White Sox exhaust any free agent options? Dylan Bundy, Chris Archer, those were guys that weren't signed this offseason. Madison Bumgarner was DFA'd. You guys are both shaking your heads. Jesse Schultens is our guy.
I mean, the thing that springs to my mind when you bring up the names of those veterans is how much time are they going to require to get major league ready? You know what I mean? Like, so you say, is it Jesse Schultens or nothing? I mean, even if you made one of those moves, it'd be Jesse Schultens for a while, right? I mean, so it is, possible that they go in some different direction. They say, hey, we want to give a different guy that's down in the minor leagues a look right now. But Jesse Schultens was the guy that they've called on each of the last couple times that they've needed another arm. It would not surprise me one bit that if they do need another arm here again, and to need one even for an extended period of time, that he would be the first option for them. Really, he strikes as the only option in my mind. Like I said, maybe they want to be like, all right, Sean Burke, we'll throw you into the fire, but that's not really a very White Sox thing to do, at least since, in the last several years since this rebuilding process has started to kind of force guys before they're ready. So I think you'd be more likely to see Schultens. Maybe Nate Fisher is a name to think about, but I think Schultens has probably got to be the only one that really comes to mind. There's just not much in the way of depth down there to speak of because of Davis Martin being down for the year with the Tommy John.
Yeah, and I think that it wouldn't be a bad idea to sign one of those guys and get them ramped up to speed just in case Jesse Schultz isn't the guy for the full year. He will be, I think, the first option, as Vinny and you both said, Sean. And then we'll see how he does. But I have I'm not against signing Dylan Bundy or Chris Archer to see what they have and see if you can do a Johnny Cueto like the White Sox did last year, to have a guy fill in just in case this Mike Clevinger thing is longer than, just a couple starts missing, even though we think it's going to be much more severe than just a couple starts. But we'll see when the White Sox actually get the MRI and all the good work done on his arm. So, yeah, they're in a bad spot no matter what. If Mike Clevinger is missing any time, they're in a bad spot. If he's missing extended a period of time, they're in a really bad spot, because for whatever he is the second best pitcher this year. He's pitched the second best this year over Dylan Cease, who was probably the third best. And then Michael Kopech is either ace material or sometimes he's really bad. And then you get whatever you get from Lance Lynn every time. So having Mike Clevinger being a stabilizing force in that starting rotation was a very surprising thing, and he pitched very well today. And if you're going from his effort this year to what Jesse Schultz going to give you, you're going to fall off the table a little bit. And hopefully Jesse Schultz steps up to the table and just gives you regular major league starting pitcher effort, 5 innings, 4 earned runs, and the White Sox offense can bail them out every once in a while.
Well, and the one thing that was unique about the White Sox, Vinny, you always mentioned that, hey, this is something that every MLB team deals with in injuries. The White Sox haven't dealt with a ton of starting pitcher injuries. Obviously, Clevinger was out for a little bit, for about 15 days in the IL earlier this year. But the White Sox are in the top half of least amount of starters used. I think the White Sox have used about 7 starters, and that differs from some franchises' strategies. Obviously, the Rays are always going to be at the bottom of that stat because they have openers. But the White Sox completely avoid that strategy, right? They want their 5 guys, and they are in the top of the MLB in the least amount of starting pitchers used. I think they've used 7. So we'll see if that changes. Jesse Schultz just might become that guy and be able to fill in. I mean, we saw Davis Martin, who you called the safety net and is obviously dealing with Tommy John of the staff. Maybe Jesse Schultz is able to fit in. I don't know if you mentioned this, but I just want to plug. Vinny wrote an article back on May 17th about Davis Martin losing Davis Martin to Tommy John, and talking about some of the possible fill-ins for the White Sox there. And just to update Chirac Bobby, who asked, how is Cueto doing in Miami? He has been dealing with some injuries, but he was just doing a rehab down in Double-A, 2 2/3, 4 hits, no earned runs, 1 walk, no strikeouts. Rick Hahn call Kim Ing? No? Is it pitch clock? Has the pitch clock killed Johnny Cueto? I saw him on Instagram Live. I mean, he's still chilling. I mean, Johnny Cueto isn't bothered. I mean, he still seems cool, calm, and relaxed. I mean, we're talking about working relationships. I missed Vinny's first part of the answer because I had to go get my charger. That seemed like you guys were no on Mad Bum, but I mean, Johnny Cueto has a relationship with Ethan Katz.
Johnny Cueto also has a job pitching for a team that is in a better spot than the White Sox is, or the White Sox are, I should say. But again, you're going to give up something now just to plug this hole. I mean, like, listen, I guess this is a better question probably for a little bit down the road. Let's see where the White Sox are as they get a little closer to the trade deadline. I think we were probably gearing up for like a nice little obituary for this team had they lost this game tonight, dropped to 11 under 500, dropped to almost 6.5 back of the Twins, something like that. So you're more, I guess, but this is a hard thing to say, that they need to go rush out and trade prospects, the little prospect capital that they have, to get themselves another starting pitcher if we don't even know whether they're actually in this thing or not yet.
Yeah, and I don't know if Johnny Cueto is going to be the guy that showed up last year. Also, if we're trading a guy on our prospect list, which we don't have a lot, it's a big time risk. I'd rather trade for something that's a little bit more of a certainty and something that's going to be years with the team instead of a rental for a couple months and maybe it doesn't work out.
Yeah, and hey, Bryce brings up a good point. I think ESPN flashed this. All the guys that were, I think even it was NBC Sports Chicago yesterday. All the guys on the IL for the Dodgers shows you the difference between the Sox and the Dodgers organizations. Look how many injuries the Dodgers have, and they're fine because they know how to build depth. We have one starting pitcher go down and no depth. I guess two if you want to count Davis Martin. Two go down, and it's really just been difficult for the White Sox to find that depth. But I mean, you look at the offseason. I mean, we mentioned Nate Fisher, we mentioned Jesse Schultens, AJ Alexei. Yes, give him a mention. They tried to find some minor league depth this offseason. It's just hasn't really panned out. And they really haven't been able to kind of excel or propel any of the guys in-house. And that's why we thought about, hey, maybe even Garrett Crochet, a guy that you talked about just a couple of years ago as being a possible starter, and maybe moving him down to the minor leagues and working on that. But, you know.
Well, and
He
you
just had
wonder
the best
where
outing out of the bullpen. So
you wonder, you might be out there like, where was the Johnny Cueto move this winter? Where was the veteran minor league deal? You just brought up a lot of guys who went completely unsigned at all. Was there a chance for that? I think it ties in probably to what you said before, that there was a relationship between Cueto and Katz could go to Rick Hahn or the front office in general and say, hey, bring that guy back. We can do something with that guy. It won't be a waste of time. If that other relationship isn't out there, maybe there isn't that guy that says, hey, we have some certainty. Herb, like you used the word certainty. There might not be that certainty with these remaining veterans that are around, and obviously guys who were around back during the spring and even in the winter. So, I understand that in situations like these, the tendency is to say, well, why didn't they do more to build this up? I just don't see it being very easy to convince someone with a major league track record to say, hey, do you want to be the seventh starter on our team? Like, that's just not a good selling point, I don't think, for any team, the White Sox or any other one.
well, and to plug your article, I'm not sure if you did when I stepped out.
Go ahead, Sean.
Oh, well, just to plug Vinny's
plug his article.
Just to plug his article about Lance Lynn and the ERA. I mean, now if Clevinger's injury is going to be serious, again, you're looking for people to just throw innings, really, just to hopefully put you in a position where we were looking, Herb, last year for Johnny Cueto to just give you 5 innings and maybe 3 earned runs or less. Lance Lynn, at this point, it's just, he hasn't been able to give you 3 earned runs or less, but he's a guy that has been consistently able to throw over 170 innings. So, I mean, he does have value in the fact that he can eat them.
Yeah, and Kevin Wells, our producer today, pointed out that Dylan Bundy is currently with the Mets minor leagues and doing ungood. 6 starts, 10 ERA, Syracuse Mets. So I wouldn't trade for him. Let's say that.
To your point on Lance Lynn, too, it's like, to your point on Lance Lynn, it's like, you've got this guy who is going out there and eating innings. Look at what happened tonight in LA when, Clevinger goes down for an injury reason, not because he couldn't get out of it, but it goes to show you how pretty good the White Sox starting rotation has been at getting deeper into games, especially the last month and a half, because my God, they were trotting out every reliever they had in the bullpen. And I looked up at one point and I'm like, my God, this is a lot of pitchers, because they needed 3 guys to get through the 6th inning, obviously. But, that bullpen is burned for tomorrow. Basically, they need a good start in order to save that bullpen. If that were to start happening with more regularity, I believe when Jesse Schultens came up in to pitch in Clevinger's absence, he wasn't going more than 4 or 4 and change. He had that one outing that came after Jimmy Lambert was the opener, and then he had the one start, I believe. And I don't think either of those outings for him went terribly long. So, is he capable of throwing 6-7 innings in a game and continuing to make this bullpen able to perform at the level that it's performed at for the last month and a half? These are real concerns, because you look up tonight and you're like, wow, they're using a lot of guys to get through this game. And hey, it ended up in a win. But if that's something that's going to be happening on a regular basis, I have to imagine that the bullpen numbers will not stay quite as good as they've been.
Yeah, and hey, maybe they'll get creative. I know Lambert's on a rehab assignment.
Yes.
We've seen him have length before. You mentioned the the White Sox using their bullpen and all the guys they used. Theodore Dennis mentioning Lopez, who pitched today, also having his past experience with length. So maybe they were able to get 2 innings out of Jimmy Lambert, and maybe they're able to get 2 innings out of Reynaldo Lopez, and we'll see where we're at. Then maybe they bring in Tanner Bakes to try to eat him, like you mentioned, Herb, with his past length in the minor leagues. Let's take a quick ad break, and then we'll do some quick hitters and get out of here. Because, again, it's 1:15 a.m. We got 110 people watching. Why? Hit the thumbs up button, you psychos. Hey, it's psychopathic if it's 1:15 and you put on sunglasses. All right. They are meant to take on the sun, and the sun is not out. Take on the sun with gear built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered for the warm weather ahead with premium polarized shades at an affordable price. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers a world-class product that's just as good as any expensive pair we've worn. They have durable frames and extremely clear optics for outdoor adventures. And if you lose or break your pair, even on day one, they told us that they will send you a brand new pair. No questions asked. Maybe you just got really frustrated, at the moon and broke your sunglasses. They're not going to ask you any questions. Wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back long after your purchase. And if you don't love your Shady Rays, you can exchange them for a new pair or return them for free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal this season. Go to shadyrays.com and use code CHGO for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized shades. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. Again, shadyrays.com using the code CHGO to get 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized shades. And it's US Open time, folks. They're going to be in LA, impressing all the stars out there for the US Open this week. And, they're probably wearing Pins and Aces gear, to be honest with you. They're the official golf apparel partner of ALLCITY and CHGO. We love our Pins and Aces gear, and all the pros that are wearing the Pins and Aces gear at the USA Open will be getting compliments on and off the course because they'll be styling and profiling. They're family-owned golf and apparel business, and they make amazing polos, hats, golf bags, and even our favorite beer sleeve. An innovative product that allows you to store 7 beers right inside your golf bag and keep drinks cold the entire round. So check out pinsandaces.com and use code CHGO to receive 15% off your first order and get free shipping. That's pinsandaces.com. A couple quick hitters here. Sox are 30-39, 5.5 games back in the AL Central. Minnesota's won 2 straight. They are atop the division at 35-33. Guardians have lost 2 straight to Herb's Padres, the Papas, 31-36. They're 3.5 games back. I want to go to probably Benintendi first. We'll do Benintendi, then we'll do Pedro, and then we'll talk about Click to Pick. I thought it was very funny, and maybe not funny is the wrong word because Benintendi's hurt. Got hit in the hand by Vesia, right? Vesia gets brought in and then drills him in the hand. And then he comes up in the 9th and hits a slap 2 RBI single. But before he hits this pitch, he bunts. And Jess Mendoza said, if he can't swing a bat, then why is he still in the game? And this is from Rick Hans Burner. He said, ESPN, let me introduce you to 2022 Luis Robert. So, again, Herb, you brought up earlier injury management. Here's Benny in the game. I mean, is it because Clint Frazier's already in right field? Aloy's at DH? Was there's just not the bodies to take Benintendi out at that point?
I'm not sure, but he wanted to play through it. But if you saw that that hit by pitch, they showed the pitch before he got hit by the pitch where he's flexing the bottom hand, which is his right hand, which got hit the subsequent pitch. And they said on the broadcast, and we brought it up here on CHGO White Sox, that he broke his hamate bone last year for the Yankees. He only played a couple games with them. And so that might be still, sapping some of his power because he hit 5 home runs last year, none so far for the White Sox. And you see there's really no pulling of the ball. There's no power. What he's got, like 7 barrels on the year. And so not having your hands, the most important thing any baseball player has, is going to be troublesome for him. Hopefully this is just a glancing blow, which he was taping his fingers together. Maybe it hit more the fingers than the bone and the hamate bone. And I think that would be a little bit better, but still not great. But he's playing major league average, like slightly below average at left field. Losing him, it wouldn't be a great loss, or if he went on to IL, but that's another player that is a major league player that you're going to be replacing with probably not a major league player, or a player that's playing at a replacement level. So, yes, he's not been great, but also the White Sox actually do need Andrew Benintendi to be good and to perform a little bit better. So, getting hit on the hand, not an awesome thing for the White Sox and Andrew Benintendi.
Well, not only do you bring up the injury from last year, but I believe Daryl Van Schouwen tweeted that Benintendi's just had a sore hand for the White Sox this year. He's been dealing with it of late. So you have a sore hand, and then you get hit in the hand. It did look like it got him in the fingers, Herb, just watching the replays, but maybe it caught him a little bit more in the palm part. What would you call the part of the hand below the fingers? Just the hand, right? Yeah. So yeah, maybe
the backhand.
The backhand or the palm. But yeah, it's not good. Obviously, he looked to be very uncomfortable after that hit him, and he was showing the feeling of it later in the game when he actually came through with a really nice hit. So we'll see if there's any lingering stuff. We remember when he got hit in the elbow earlier in the season with a pitch, he was out for a couple of days. So who knows if this is going to be something similar.
Hey, Dr. Anderson, it's late. It slipped past me. It's the dorsal side. Of course, it's the dorsal side of our hands, folks. I mean, come on. Dr. Anderson, again, is here for your service. Pedro Grifol got feisty. We mentioned and kind of skipped over the Tim Anderson, Elvis Andrus play where they possibly had to force it second. Andrus wasn't on the bag when he received the ball. Then he had to step on the bag, and Vargas's foot beat him to the bag. And Pedro Grifol immediately was saying, challenge. Hello, anybody? Challenge. Can we challenge this? Can we challenge this? Gets out of the dugout. Can we challenge this? Can we challenge this? Starts yelling at the umpire. I said I wanted to challenge this. I guess that's why he gets tossed out of the game, right? I also thought it may have been pitch clock related.
It seemed like it was what you'd said, and ESPN was basically said that they had a reporter down there who told them as much. It seemed like he had alerted them that he wanted the video replay, way before his time ran out, but maybe the umps didn't see him for whatever reason, even though I think that's their job, is to look into the dugout and see if they should be doing a video replay, but especially on a close play like that. So it seemed like he might have had good reason to be upset and upset to the point where he got ejected tonight.
And I don't know if you guys believe in the type of like firing up your team by getting ejected, getting hyped up, but I don't know like if it was too late, and that's what the reporter said. But is that a rookie mistake, or was he actually trying to do a thing where he's trying to hype his team up? And I mean, technically it worked because of the offensive output there, but I take those things with a grain of salt. Sometimes you could see a team is lifeless and your manager going out there to stick up for you and getting a little animated. Maybe you can get some life out of that, but I don't know if that was what happened tonight.
No, I honestly just think it looked like they showed the replay of, again, him screaming from the dugout. It just seemed like the umpires either didn't see him or it wasn't challengeable. I think that was also doing my best reading of the lips. Like it felt like he was saying, can I challenge that? I want to challenge that. And I think he said, is that not challengeable or something like that? And then again, it gets wrung out or thrown out. Like I just did not understand what led up to him getting tossed, because it seemed like he did everything right. Anything else to add on him getting tossed? Okay. Charlie Montoya, take over. Oh,
I mean, that play, I don't know if we're going to talk about it, but
feel free.
We've already talked a little bit. Tim Anderson, that play is just inexcusable.
Absolutely. I mean, and
play as a infielder or any outfielder, you have to think about this ball is hit to me quick, and start the double play. If it's hit slowly, who's going on the line? Who's coming down second? All these things got to go in front of your mind before you even get the ball. And he gets that ball, and the guy's already bearing down on Elvis. It's a bang play no matter what. Just get the one out. They tell you don't make a big inning out of something that could just be, conceding that run you're not going to get at home anyway. So make the second out and let your pitcher live to see another day. By doing that, you extended the inning, and then the Dodgers can get a lead. I don't know what's going on with him. He needs to get his head in the game and play a little bit better, because hitting 0 for 5. While everybody else was cracking today, Tim was not. And then the fielding is subpar. You can't have those mental blunders going on when we already talked about it. The White Sox are living on the margins. And so having plays like that usually would cost them the game. Luckily, their offense picked up and their defense and their bullpen stepped to the plate. But he's lost.
Absolutely.
That was just a textbook example of trying to do way too much. I mean, he's trying to turn a double play where he can't turn a double play. He's trying to save a 1-run lead when, like you said, he opens up the door for them to blow that lead. And he's trying to turn 2 in a situation where he can't do it, just get the 1 out. I mean, it seemed very cut and dry that he was just trying. We talk about guys who go up to the plate to try to hit a 10-run homer to break out of a slump or to erase a big lead all in one swing. You can't do it. And in that situation, he was trying to create a play that would have protected a lead that was basically impossible to create. So you're absolutely right. He needed to just throw the ball to first base in that situation. And the defensive mistakes from a mental standpoint, more so than a physical standpoint, are piling up for TA as he obviously continues to struggle at the plate.
Yeah, and more for the White Sox too. I mean, Gregory Santos not backing up home, and there's the home throw home that's awry, gets past Grandal, and a run is able to score there. And I just, again, ESPN showing here are all the teams that are under 500 that made the playoffs, and Tim Kirchin's like, oh, Pedro Grifol has a real emphasis on fundamental play because it's just like, have you seen the White Sox? Like, it's just like he's probably really disappointed. It's just like it's been the past 5 years, my man. I mean, they just don't play fundamental defense or fundamental baseball. That's been the struggle for fans watching this team. The other thing I want to bring up with Charlie Montoyo bringing in, we talked about Bob Nightingale. He had this note: White Sox bench coach Charlie Montoyo, who plays the bongos in his free time to relax, just released a 2-song album with agent Burton Rocks called Montoyo Rocks. They played "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" and "El Ramito de Baseball." Quote, "I loved salsa music ever since I was a kid," end quote, Montoyo said in a television interview from New York. Quote, "And honestly, this came out pretty good. Really good. I love it. It's great." Vinny, new article. Let's go. Ask Charlie Montoyo about his bongos. Did he start playing his bongos for his lads? And is that why the comeback started? Many are asking.
I don't think Bob was the first one on this. I think Scott Merkin had this the other day. But yeah, the Charlie Montoyo music story is apparently making the media rounds.
All right. Hey, I mean, I think, we've already sat down with Jake Berger. I think it's time to hear unplugged Charlie Montoyo and the bongos. We should get all the mics set up for Charlie. Maybe
we can get Charlie to play a bongo salsa version of Tusk.
Hell yes. I love where your head's at. Final.
I didn't think Tusk could be any worse.
Herb, knock it off. Click to pick. Here are the 3 picks that we had. Vinny picked Eloy, Sean picked Vaughn, Herb picked Grandal. None of those guys homered. Therefore, click to pick is stupid, and no one wins because no one did it right.
What are you talking about? Eloy had 2 hits, an RBI, and a run scored.
Jake Berger had 2 home runs.
It's not that one of us has to pick the guy. It's not the one of us has to pick the guy who had the best night. It's of the 3 that were picked, who had the best night.
I mean, Yasmani Grandal didn't have the opportunity to drive in runs, but he did go 3 for 5. And I think he deserves it.
Hey, this is a real had a hit and a walk.
And a double, too. Good base running, too.
Yeah, good base running. Thank you. Grandal did because he went first to third.
This is a real, what hand wins in poker type situation where it's like, I've got 2 pair, a full house, 4 of a kind, 3 of a kind. No, I feel like nobody ever knows which of those is better. So this is probably where we're at tonight.
Actually, now I'm looking at the thing. Yeah, Eloy wins it because of the run scored and the run driven in, and he didn't strike out as much as Yasmani.
Jake Berger wins it because he had 2 home runs.
But when you guys picked it before the game, as you're supposed to. I didn't see the thing until literally, I think Andrew Benintendi was betting in the 2nd inning, and Jake Berger had already hit a home run. And I was like, I could have picked him, but I didn't. And so I was going to pick Yasmani before the game, and I did for the reason I said before, because of familiarity with Clayton Kershaw. He had a good game, but I think my guy Eloy had a better game. So, Vinny, you got that one.
Congrats.
Who didn't get it? Sean.
Hey, oh no.
I
I'm
needed
so
I
pained.
I needed a win because, Sean, you've got me hooked now. And once the clock's past midnight, I went over to the Immaculate Grid
Oh wow.
to do today's new puzzle, and I almost got it. I blew it on Dodgers Royals combo because I thought that Matt Stairs played for the Dodgers, and I
Ooh.
screwed it up.
Oh, Vinny.
So I went eight. I got 8 of them, but
Did you
not the 9th.
did you already use a pitcher that's currently on the Royals?
I mean, probably not.
The guy Greinke?
Yeah, that guy. That would have
Yeah.
been a good guy. That would have been a good guy to pick.
All
See,
right.
sometimes
Well,
these
that's a
things just escape you.
brutal break. I'm sorry, Vin.
I got my Royal Astro double though with Octavio Dotel, so
Very nice.
I was happy with that.
Hell yeah. And that's where we'll end it with an Octavio Dotel mention. You can follow Vinnie Duber on Twitter at Vinnie Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer. Let's say goodbye to him. He's going to be enjoying a weekend. He's going to be going on a trip. So we'll see him next week. But Vinny, he'll be out of the office on Thursday and Sunday. So you can follow him on Twitter, but he might be a little quiet over there, enjoying some family time. So enjoy, Vin. That's Herb Lawrence. You can follow him on Twitter at ActonRaw23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. You'll see him and myself tomorrow for more White Sox and Dodgers pre and post game. So join us then. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. I think it's another 9-10 game. So join us for an 8:30 pregame show tomorrow. We'll talk to you then. Go Sox.